That's the level up I was waiting for. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Freezing Pools in Path of Exile. I have invested pretty much everything I had. Which is fine. That's perfectly fine. That's how I usually do league starts, right? Pour everything into the character until I'm actually happy with it. And I'm at the point now where, yes, I'm happy with how this has turned out again. So let's grab a little pause here and invest that skill point. As you can see, some things have changed. You can finally get another like 25 crit multi. There we go. And yes, that means level 95. As you can see, I'm now spec'd into glancing blows, which, yes, that means I do have an Aegis Aurora. So yeah, this has been quite nice and felt really good for leveling. I spent 5 divines on a militant faith that was suited for me, so nothing gets blocked here. Golem Commander still intact, Heart of Ice, Instability, Deep Thoughts, Cruel Prep, and Mystic Bulwark are all good. The new node is now Inner Conviction, right? So we have 3% more spell damage per power charge, but we can no longer gain frenzy charges. So, for our implicit on the chest, if you want to go more defensive, you can actually go for endurance charges that generate, right? I opted for something a little bit different because I'm now just spec'd into crit multi for spell damage. And yes, this is quite a neat armor for the point where I'm at. It's not perfect. What is perfect though is the base percentile. This is a max rolled armor ES Sacred Chainmail, so I didn't cheap out. Well, I bought it for like 35 chaos, and to link it, I spent roughly 40 vines. It just didn't want to link, which is a-okay. That's a-okay. I managed to get it at some point, then crafted it up. It was still cheaper than buying one at the end of the day. And yeah, so let's talk about the upgrades that I have done. As I said, the chest piece, we have crit strike multi for spell damage, and then 10% of fist damage from hits taken as cold damage, which goes hand in hand with Aegis Aurora, right? You get +5 to maximum cold resistance, so we are sitting on 81 cold res and 76 on the other ones, and I managed to keep 1% chaos res going. That is quite okay. Now, as you can see, in Hideout, we are sitting on 23,000 armor. Out in the field, when our armor flask is up, that's 33,000. And then we also have our Molten Shell proccing in the background, which is quite nice. Our Cold Snap now generates power charges, right? So that is just how it is. So we might no longer want to link it with power charge on crit. We can probably just get like increased AoE or something in there. That is also a way to do this, right? Cool. So chest piece and shield are upgraded. Boots are still the same. I finally got some new gloves. These are paladin gloves. And I mean, we have a decent life roll, some dex, some int, some rarity, and just some cold res. And then I crafted increased armor in the S on there, which very nice. Still on nerf on hit, right, and cold exposure on hit as the implicits. That works out fairly nicely. Boost still action speed and increased armor from helmet and gloves, so those haven't changed. And then we have a Prophet Crown, which is also something I need to upgrade in the future. We do have a change in here. We still have the cast speed, which I want more of. That's the one thing that I need to upgrade, actually. And then we have some increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, coupled with an Enlighten support on level 2. Because now we are running Skilltree, Determination, Herald of Ice, the automation, and we are running Clarity on a setup linked to Arrogant support, right? So that's why we have a little bit of max life missing here, or like we have reserved 311 health, right? Keep that in mind. Quality-wise, Freezing Pulse is now a level 2120 gem that I have bought, and we socketed this in a blue socket. So we get 30% quality, right? So instead of 40% projectile speed, we gain 60% increased projectile speed. And as I mentioned in the past, this just helps with damage fall off over distance, and that extra 10% can be noticeable, right? Spell Echo is 2020 now, same goes for Pinpoint. Increased crit damage, I'm still leveling, and same goes for increased critical strikes, right? But the extra quality helps immensely. I definitely need to go to do Cold Pen as well, right? For the golems, I have socketed the lightning golem in here, right? So instead of 20% increased buff effect, we gain 30%, which is quite nice, right? That is just also cast speed and mana regen. So that's really nice investment there. I need to get quality for the other golems though, but that's fine. I swapped out my rings, right? So we do have a diamond ring here that I crafted with the league mechanic. We have a good max life roll, some increased crit, increased global crit, right? We have double res on there. And then we have the added lightning to attacks. I would like to annul this at some point with the league mechanic, maybe. However, it's not the end of the day if one stat or two stats are lacking here. We do have an amethyst ring with also just life, a decent regen roll, and then we have crit multi if you've shattered an enemy recently. That is actually a hybrid modifier, right? So you do get this with some increased crit chance, and since we are using, Herald of Ice, we shatter a lot, so while mapping we get even more crit multi out of it, which is quite cool, honestly. And then I just crafted max mana, increased mana cost efficiency. Don't think we need it right now, but once we hit Enlighten level 3, we can definitely change this up. That might open up the Eater of Worlds implicit here as well again to do something a little bit differently there. And then lastly, one more upgrade. I have a new wand. So, this is really only one stat that is not needed, right? Which is the reduced attribute requirements. But other than that, we have tier 1 crit chance, tier 3 crit multi. I'm okay with that. We have the +1 level, and we have a tier 3 spell damage, and we crafted flat cold onto there. Still room for upgrades, right? But this is a very decent wand indeed. I haven't done the harvest quality thing. I don't think it makes that much of a difference on a quality 20 wand. We might go back to this later on though. So yeah, that are pretty much the upgrades. I still need to go and reroll my flasks, but you can see we have the granite still in, but we no longer have the basalt flask because we have determination now, right? And and determination grants you more armor. So I instead opted for a silver flask to get onslaught, right? And that smooths out the problem that I have with cast speed. Now, if you're still on a frenzy generation chest piece, right, that the cast speed feels quite nice with that. Keep in mind, once you invest into a militant faith, though, yeah, you no longer gain frenzy charges. So that is a trade-off that I am willing to make for the moment. As I said, I want to get more cast speed somewhere else. So we might rearrange this tree a little bit. It is quite similar. In the past, I would come up here through these end nodes, right? Because it would be the same distance between the clusters. Nowadays, though, since this has moved over like one slot, right, and you need one more point to get here, it's actually cheaper to just connect over top here. On this side, I just like the increased ES and increased block recovery, right? That feels good while mapping. And then we also, down here, we just grab the spell block instead of the attack block, right? To max out our block. And this also gives us +1 to all LE or max LE resistances, right? I was thinking about speccing out of these nodes, by the way, and adding in these, but that requires level 97, and I'm not sure if that is a trade-off that I'm willing to make. Now, oh yeah, also, since we are in a Glancing Blow setup, right, we invested into some armor and ES nodes over here and down here as well. And that also gives us 30% reduced extra damage from crits. And then we have the mastery changed here, so this gives us 100% increased armor and ES from the body armor if our helmet, gloves, and boots are all armor ES bases, which is why it's important that they are, right? This is a massive increase to your survivability just with the mastery alone, and here we just took recover 5% of ES over 1 second when you take fist damage from an enemy hit. Feels very good, coupled with Divine Shield, right? So this is why you need a decent chunk of armor. And then 3% of fist damage prevented from hits, so basically you block, is regenerated as ES per second. So that's also just smooths out your ES recovery quite nicely. And like 2.8k ES already feels very, very good, right? Even like 2000 feels amazing. And 4.6k life unreserved. It has been enough so far. The jewel that we lost here, or that we swapped out, right, had some increased max life, so I was over 5k unreserved. It's fine though, it's absolutely fine. So yeah, these are the upgrades that I have made to the build. It's been a wild ride, it's not gonna lie. I was able to push again very far. Pretty much the same as last time. I did pick up the Decayed Voidstone in the meantime, right? So I just did the regular Shaper and the regular Elder fights. These were quite nice to do. Had a ton of fun with them, and they went pretty smoothly as well. So the only quadrant where I don't have the Voidstone for, yeah, it's this one down here. That is the Maven, right? So haven't done that. What I have done though is fight good old Cyrus, and Cyrus has dropped me a nice thread of hope, not in a radius that I was able to use, but it rolled very low minus resistances, and I was able to sell it for 4 diff? If I remember correctly. Let's double check. Yeah, there it is, the thread of hope. Minus 12 all res instead, right? Almost best roll, and it was a medium ring, which I cannot use for this build, so I decided, you know what, put it up for like 4 diff, and we were able to sell it. So currently we are sitting on 1 diff and 146 chaos. Still pretty decent. I had to sell a couple of things that I wanted to hold on for longer to afford all my upgrades, but that's fine, right? That's okay. We had some decent drops here and there, like a Scarab that we were able to sell for like 1.5 diff, and just other smaller things. So yeah, it was quite nice. I just realized I'm sitting on 1.5 million gold. I definitely need to do more league mechanic stuff, but before we jump into any of that, let's head over into Path of Building. Okay, so as you can see, survivability a little bit better. Let's deactivate our... Definitely need to get these out. Let's deactivate this for a quick second. Yeah. It inflates the Fizmax hit quite drastically, but if you have the endurance charges right, you go up to 13,000, and then you sometimes get the benefit of Molten Shell, which puts you up to 17,000. So pretty nice. So the endurance charges are definitely a thing, right? As you can see, crit chance, not there yet. However, if we have all of our power charges, we are almost at crit cap. There's a little bit missing there. And if we have our Diamond Flask active, we also jump to like 87% without power charges. Right, with one that you always have, and then on max we are absolutely crit capped already, which is quite nice. Right, so yeah, for the moment we keep this in. The Granite Flask will help us also push up our Fizz max hit quite neatly to like 12.5k, and with Molten Shell this goes up to like 17.5k, which is quite neat. To 20,000 if you go for the Endurance Charges generation on your chess piece, which you might want to, right? Now, losing Frenzy Charges is a bit of a... Yeah, that's a bit of a damage debuff, right? So we also have 15% more damage here anyways. And if we get all our intensity stacks up, we are already at 1.5 mil, so we're looking good. We do shock, we do chill, right? And we can also unnerve, so... And this is 4 meters away. If you stand like 1 meter away from our target, yeah, we are almost looking at 3 mil. But 4 meters, I think, is reasonable. Oftentimes you will be closer, right? And while mapping, you will shatter enemies recently, right? So you can see it is a decent jump in crit multi here. Well, like 28%. That's still very nice. So, yeah. Now, if we also have our silver flask up, you can see that adds in a decent chunk. Almost 300,000, right? So, yeah, cast speed is definitely what I need to upgrade. And now that we can actually have this enabled, it gives us just like 10,000 more, but sometimes you will have the ref aura from your golem, but it's so inconsequential in my eyes, right? Cool. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. If we go over here and get our freezing pulse, right? Remember, we also need to level these gems up, so we will get a little bit more crit multi and a little bit more crit chance. That's fine. We are on 170 devotion right now. So we could also invest into life recoup if we wanted to, right? And just gain a bit more devotion here. However, it's fine, right? And this is another one with just increased effective non-damaging ailments per devotion and elemental damage per devotion, right? So you're wondering just how big this is. It's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. Our hit DPS goes up by over 0.5 mil. So that's neat. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. I really like this. Then we have the movement speed flask, of course, to make movement a little bit easier, right? Yeah. Awesome. That sums up the upgrades. I really quickly wanted to show you how you can find your militant faith, right? You go to find timeless jewel here. Jewel type is going to be militant faith. Conqueror, this needs to be dominus. And then the jewel socket is actually rolling tempest, right? You can select your devotion modifiers. So we want effective non-damaging ailments. And we also want to get elemental damage. Like so. You want to tick filter nodes here. And yeah, these are all the ones nearby, right? And we want to add all of them. We need to protect all of these guys. They cannot be overridden or we will be in pretty deep trouble. And then you just click search. And now you have a list over here with all the numbers. You click once, you scroll down a little bit, not too far, hold shift, click this one, and then you go open trade URL, right? And that will open a trade window for you in your browser. It will search for any available jewels. In this case, I know I pretty much snagged the only one. You check that. If it doesn't have your jewel in, you just open next, right? And it goes down the list for you. I had to scroll through a lot to get to my jewel, but then, yeah, as expected, it costed like 5 divines. That is just how it has been in the past as well. So I am okay with that, right? Now, keep in mind, the endurance charges are honestly quite nice to get. Like, they feel very safe. And I was mapping with quite a strict regex, right? I rolled my maps quite safely, and having endurance charges would mean you could do a little bit more with the damage nodes and stuff in there, right? I rolled over cannot regen life or mana. I just didn't enjoy that, even though I do have an enduring mana flask that I can take with me if I want to, right? I just did not enjoy that at all, right? So yeah, endurance charges just feel nice, right? If you want to add them in, that's pretty neat. Okay, so we can see here, current shock is 47%. We might be able to squeeze this up to 50 at some point. just need some more ailment effectiveness, right? And yeah, why do we want the effective ailments is pretty clear, right? But why elemental damage? Well, remember, this respec, we got our way out of these two ele damage, right? This is what? 22%, so 72% increased elemental damage that we just gave up, right? And 20% effect. If we take all of this back, you can see it's actually no longer that big of a deal to get that out of the way, but that would put us back on 50% shock. However, I'm pretty sure we can find a jewel that has that same effect as well, right? So we are not really, we don't really need to stress about that. Okay, so that's level 95. If I'm pushing this further, which I probably will because I'm having a blast with the build, what do I want to do? I was thinking maybe even go a little bit more into mana. Right, if you allocate these 3 nodes up to level 98, that would not clear out our current shock, sadly. So yeah, but that could be something, right? It's not that much though, right? Well, it's kind of nice. So yeah. Also, I could see myself actually speccing back into this, right? But it's too many skill points, right? One thing that can be very helpful though would be a Watcher's Eye, right? So let's have a quick glance about, or a quick look. So Watcher's Eyes, we would have either something with Determination if you want to go more defensive, so just additional armor, that could be very nice. And then we definitely want something with Skilltree. Right, we could get cast speed throughout Skilltree. How much is that actually? It's wow, it's rough. Yeah, 10% is the lowest one. And what else do we have? We can have crits penetrate Elires, right? That is also good. Or the gain arcane surge when you create consecrated ground. I used that in the past as well. I think of these ones, probably the cast speed is nice and the crit, the pen is nice. Determination can be very, very difficult to get though. So maybe, right? Maybe a double Skilltree one. Although I would think that cast speed is going to be extremely expensive to get, right? But at the end of the day, you would gain a decent amount of life, a decent chunk of ES as well, right? It's not as important though to get it. That is, but that's okay, right? That is absolutely okay. It can help though. The Militant Faith, I feel like, is it's such a decent jump in damage that I don't want to miss that. Awesome. So I will try to pack this into the other path of building, and we are going to repost this. I will leave you the leveling regex for the maps in here as well. That's what I have been using, right? And yeah, as you can see here, even with the plan I had, I was on like 13,000 with max hit, and we upped that a little bit now. It's still not that tanky, and I definitely need to convert these trees as well, so we're going to make an effort to do that at some point. I just don't know when that will happen. Once it does, it will be added into the description of today's video, so there we go. Alrighty, that wraps up everything for the moment. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and as always, take care. Bye.